Mr. Attorney General, this body in this chamber, if you refer to the Senate,
I'm referring to the Senate,
has voted clearly on a bipartisan, overwhelming vote that we would prohibit such practices with the McCain Amendment. So if you're going to rely on the chamber has expressed its will in exactly the opposite position you've taken. Where is the lack of clarity in the McCain legislation?
the words of the legislation, of all the legislation that's thus far been passed, are words that are general and upon which, as I said, people on both sides of the debate have already disagreed. To point to this language or that language, it seems to me, is to pick nits at this point. People have disagreed about the generality of the language and have said that it can be read two ways.
I might just say that, as the chairman has noted here as a matter of record, Senators McCain, Warner, and Graham, the lead sponsors of this legislation, have said that under the Military Commission Act, waterboarding is a war crime. It is unequivocal. How do you, at this moment in time, you have employees of your department in Iraq counseling the police and Army there not to use waterboarding and torture. And their standard, unfortunately, at least leading up to this moment, has been that it depends on the circumstances. Do you see the problem with your ambivalence on this issue when it comes to setting a standard that we are trying to teach to the world, a standard we want our own people to be protected by?
The standards, the problems posed by what you call ambivalence, which I don't think is really ambivalence, but rather a due caution for the reasons that I outlined, are already matters of record.
So, for clarity then, I assumed that, and correct me please, that you were arguing that the use of such techniques to discover nuclear weapons would not shock the conscience.
No, what I was saying was that the use of such techniques to discover information that could not be used to save lives and was simply of historical value would shock the conscience.
Well, that's half the answer, so let's go to the other half. What about the circumstances where the information would save lives, many lives? Would that justify it?
Those circumstances have not been set out. That is not part of the program. We don't know concretely what they are, and we don't know how that would work.
Under the military standards, clearly military interrogation standards, they are not interested in the danger. They have just said unequivocally that their personnel cannot engage in this technique. So you're saying that when it comes to the non-military, that is still unresolved as to whether they can use these techniques?
It is unresolved.
In your mind?
Because I have not been presented with a concrete situation. And
I've gone over my time.